guys, I'm Hattie Boydle. I'm here at Revive Gym. I am currently 11 weeks out from the WBFF Australia Pro AM show. I actually haven't competed in Australia, which is where I'm from, in 9 years. So I won my pro card in 2014 in Australia and then just went overseas to compete. So I'm coming back to the Australian soil to become the Australian World Champion, hopefully. And it is such a pleasure to train in this gym. It has the most amazing equipment here. So I'm super excited. I'm going to take you guys through an upper body session, and I'm going to teach you how to create a structurally balanced upper body session. And you can apply this to your training program, whether you train your upper body once a week or twice a week. And this structure is designed to make sure that we hit all the muscle groups that we want to improve, plus keep our shoulders really healthy, which is a crucial part to actually making sure that everything functions really, really well. So often when we think about training upper body, the normal bro split is to say chest, back, biceps, triceps, shoulders. There's actually a better way of looking at how to approach your upper body training program, specifically if you're someone that wants to learn how to do it yourself. So I like to break it down into horizontal movements, whether it's push and pull, vertical movements, whether it's push and pull, and then we've got our bilateral machine, unilateral work, and then we also want to focus on lateral movements out to the side, and then, like I said, shoulder health movements, which can go either at the beginning or at the end. I'm going to start with putting the shoulder health exercises at the beginning because I've had some shoulder issues. So when they're done at the beginning, it just means that we're going to get everything activated. We're not going to punish the shoulder, especially when it comes to shoulder health exercises. You have to think technique. It's not a hypertrophy exercise. Okay, we're going to leave our bigger compound movements for that. We can also look at breaking it down into compound and isolated. Depending on what you want to go, whether it's to just have a structurally balanced, healthy upper body, or if it's something that you want to hypertrophy, then we will look at how many sets or how much volume goes towards different body parts. Today I'm going to start with, like I said, the shoulder health exercise, which is going to be external rotation movement, dumbbell external rotation, and then I'm going to go and start with a vertical push and then a vertical pull. And then we're going to go into our horizontal push and our horizontal pull, and then I'm going to finish it off with some isolated shoulder work. A really common mistake that we often see in the gym when people come in to warm up their shoulders, we often see people doing this, and they either do it with one hand or two hands. Now, that is doing external rotation of the shoulder, but because of where we're holding a dumbbell and gravity goes down, we're not loading the rotator cuff, we're loading the bicep. So if you're someone that's been coming in to warm up your shoulders like this, you're doing it incorrectly. However, if you were to do that same movement standing up with a cable, then that's actually correct, because the strength curve is going this way, it's pulling this way, which means that you are able to hit the muscle of the rotator cuff. So if you're going to use a dumbbell, it's better for you to either do it into this position here. What you're going to do is you're going to find a little groove in the knee where your elbow's going to sit here, and that's where you're going to lock yourself in place, and then you go into that external rotation of the rotator cuff, okay, the rear delt. Or you can do it side lying. So again, we've got like a bit of a groove through the waist here, and that again is placing load through the rotator cuff in the right way. Okay, so there's two different dumbbell variations for you to do that's going to improve or strengthen your rotator cuff, but you never want to do this. You're not loading the rotator cuff, you're loading the bicep. So chest position when we're pushing and pulling is really important. So you've probably heard the term thoracic extension. Most people try and achieve thoracic extension, so the part of the spine here is to achieve thoracic extension this way, and that actually helps set the shoulder blades or the scapulas in a a strong position to be able to glide around the rib cage like this, which is what we need for proper movement. So when we're performing, the dumbbell external rotation, you want to make sure that your chest is up. So keep your eyes up, because subconsciously, if you look down, everything follows. So if you're doing this in that position, you're not putting your scapula in the right position. So we want to achieve thoracic extension or chest up, eyes up, and then make sure we're really controlling the movement, getting a deep stretch at the bottom. Okay, so taking it to full stretch of the rear delt here, and then into full external rotation at the top. So today I'm going to start with a superset, push to pull. Now, because I want to prioritize my shoulders as being the movement or the body part that I want to bring up the most, I'm starting with a shoulder movement. But because I'm going to vertical push, if I'm going to do a standing barbell press in a pronated position, my superset is going to be my antagonist, which is going to be a pronated pull down. So whenever it comes to writing your program for a structurally balanced approach, you want to match the horizontal push to horizontal pull, or vertical push to vertical pull, and then you also want to match hand position. So if I was going to do a neutral grip pull down, I'd then want to match it with a neutral grip push. If I'm going to do barbell, I would then do a bar row, which would be like a lat pull down. So I'm literally matching the movement pattern, but in agonist, and then the hand position. After I do this superset, I'm going to move to a dumbbell row and a dumbbell press. So, and then I'm going to match it with the neutral position, because we also need to make sure we're training the forearm extensors so that we don't get something like tennis elbow, and it's really, really painful when you do. So shoulder health, big tick, we've already done. Now we're going to get into the compound movements that are going to shift the heaviest load. There are so many ways of creating a program. I could, if I wanted to, do all shoulders in my first half of my session and all back, but I would follow that same sequence. So an example would be, if I was going to start with all pushing movements, or all vertical push movements, I would go barbell push, 3 sets of that. Then I'd go to an incline dumbbell horizontal push, 3 sets of that, and then I would go into lateral raises. I would then go into my back movements, and I would match it. So I'd do a pull-up in that pronated position. I would then do some sort of probably machine row in that neutral position to match it. And then I'd finish off with maybe a straight arm pull down, so an isolated back exercise, so that I'm literally matching compound, isolated, pronated, neutral, isolated. Same, but in reverse. And that's going to help you create a really structurally balanced approach, but in a slightly different way. Chin-ups or pull-ups, however you want to call them, the hardest progression is pronated. So if you're someone that wants to learn how to do chin-ups, I would either start with a supinated position here, or even a neutral grip. Neutral grip's going to be the easiest, even though they're still so hard, pull-up progression. And I actually highly recommend learning how to hold yourself up at the top before trying to learn how to do a full hanging chin-up. Because if you think about it, you're literally trying to pull up your entire body weight. It is such a hard exercise. And it's a great exercise when it's performed correctly. So something we might often see is when people are trying to attempt a chin-up, or when people get tired in a chin-up, we tend to see this happen at the top, which means that we're not even utilising the muscles of the upper back. So a well-performed chin-up is the lats, the mid-back, the shoulders, the biceps, all working simultaneously. When we see them being performed incorrectly, we start to develop too much trap, too much bicep, and we don't get that beautiful upper back density that we're trying to achieve. So something that I teach my girls is we always stop at technical breakdown. So technical breakdown is when we can no longer perform a perfect chin-up. Something that I find very important for intensity, but also recovery, is timing your rest periods. So when I do an antagonist superset, so the push to pull, I'll generally do my set, wait 1 minute, and then perform the next exercise, and then wait 1 minute. So it's this very balanced, like I said, push and pull ratio, work to rest ratio. If I was to perform a superset of the same muscle group, like a barbell push, lateral raise, I wouldn't give a rest period between those two. I would actually attempt to do them as close together as possible to drive up that metabolic fatigue. I took my shirt off, only so that you can see the muscles of the upper back working. So, like I mentioned earlier, what we often see is when people get really fatigued and when they can't perform the exercise, we see this happen, but we want that to happen. So we want to see the muscles in the lats and the mid-back to be on. The traps are going to work, but they're not going to be up here. Okay, so you will start to see as I start to fatigue. It's my third set. So as I get towards the last kind of 2 or 3 reps, it gets a lot harder, and you'll start to see the difference between rep 1 and rep 8. So as I started to reach failure at the top, rather than trying to lose the technique, I tried to get the technique, but I just couldn't get the range. So therefore, game over. To go for a horizontal and a neutral grip row, which means that I'm going to match that position in a neutral grip press. So normally I would actually go for more of a horizontal looking machine, but this one just really stands out to me, and so it's like a high to low row, so I'm still passing through that horizontal pull and I'm still targeting the muscles of the mid and upper back, which is what I want to achieve. And because this is going to come down this way, I'm now going to go and perform a low incline dumbbell neutral grip press. So I'm essentially going to be matching like body position and hand position to the agonist antagonist. For my supplementary exercises, I'm going for a higher rep ranges. So for my primary movement, which was my barbell press and my pull-up, I worked between the 6 to 8 rep range, which is also considered like a strength hypertrophy range. And now I'm going to move more into your traditional kind of bodybuilding rep ranges. So I'm going to go for 12 to 15 reps on this pull, 12 to 15 reps on my push, and actually as I start to move towards the latter ends of my exercise, I actually start to increase my rep ranges. So isolated work, lateral raises, rep ranges for that particular exercise, anywhere between 8 to 20. It works really well for that type of exercise. A really important key to transforming your body is intensity. And I'm not talking about an elevated heart rate or sweating. Yes, that can be signs that you've worked hard, but it's not you actually working hard. Intensity or effort is the load lifted and working to failure, if not proximal failure. So if you're new to the gym, you shouldn't be working to failure. You actually don't need to get the result that you want. But if you've been training 2 years and beyond, you need to have intensity in your training. So I actually went for 15 reps with that weight because 12 reps, way too early, didn't even touch the sides. Whereas when I started to get towards that 15 rep, it was like, oh, okay, I might only have 3 more reps of my own in the tank, which means I stopped at 3 reps shy of failure. Now, a lot of people get confused with muscular failure and discomfort. Discomfort is like almost where you need to sit when you want to make change in your body. Muscular failure is when the muscle can no longer perform that rep range with that load. So you start to see, as an example in a bicep curl, someone's like cannot get their arms up here. It's like that muscle, it's done. Versus when we're doing a leg extension, we start to get that lactate buildup. It hurts, but there's no slowing down of the movement or the range at all, which means, I'm sorry, but there's plenty left in the tank, which is why we need to learn to work towards failure. How do you know if you're working towards failure? You have to fail to do so. So it's that kind of catch-22 of learning that failure is success in training when performing the exercise correctly. So things like your compound lifts, like squats and deadlifts, we don't tend to go to failure. They're not very safe. But things like a press, a row, lateral raises, you can go to town on them and most of the time not hurt yourself. Commonly asked question that I get from females is, should females train their upper body? Should females train their chest? And I remember like 10 years ago, someone said to me, oh, you should stop training your chest. Women shouldn't train chest. And so I did. And then something I noticed was that the development of my shoulders began to deteriorate. And that is because when we horizontal press, right, whether it's a slight incline or even a flat bench, we recruit 100% of the muscles in the anterior deltoid. So we've got anterior, medial, posterior. So if you neglect horizontal pushing, even things like push-ups, then you're going to neglect building the front of the chest. If you're someone that has breast implants under the muscle and you find it really uncomfortable to do horizontal pressing, that's quite normal. But what you can do instead is do front raise variations where that is going to target the anterior deltoid so that you can still continue to have well-developed shoulders. A key piece to performing rows correctly is making sure that the scapula and the humerus move together. That's in vertical pulling, horizontal pulling. So often we might teach a beginner, and that's someone who's never performed the exercise before, to do like a 1-2 or a 1-2, but we should quickly move them away from this 1-2 disjointed movement into, okay, now you know how to depress the shoulders or retract the shoulders, into one swift movement of pulling everything together, the scapula or the shoulder blades and the humerus, elbows, to move together in one swift movement. And then we develop a really healthy relationship between the scapula and the humerus, which is what we want when it comes to having really healthy movement in the upper body. Now we're going to go into more isolated movements. We're going to do a superset. It's called an ipsilateral set. So an ipsilateral set is where you do same side of the superset. I'm going to start with a rear delt, single arm rear delt fly into a lean away cable lateral raise. The reason I'm starting with the rear delt exercise first is because that's my weakest. So I need to hit that first before I do the lateral raise, because I have way more strength in my medial deltoid, and I can then perform that exercise a lot better even after it's fatigued. Exercises like that you can go to failure on, and you're not going to hurt yourself. So it's always nice to finish off with isolated exercises. They're generally safer exercises to do under fatigue. You wouldn't go and put like a back squat or a deadlift at the end of your session once you've just done hack squats, leg extensions, hip thrusts, RDLs, all these other exercises that are like really fatiguing, not just on your muscle but on your nervous system. So there's always a hierarchy. Obviously the exercise that goes at the beginning of your workout is the primary exercise, is the exercise that is most specific to your goal. Now there are times where you might be like, oh, I really want to work on my my medial deltoid, so you might actually start with lateral raises at the front. Because that's the exercise that you're like, that's my primary goal, I want to hit my medial deltoids, and then you move into more compound lifts, and that is a way of structuring a program. But to have a really balanced approach, you want to look at the horizontal push-pull movements, the compound push-pull movements, and really prioritize the ones that are the most demanding first, and then work towards the isolated exercises and the shoulder health exercises, or the tricep bicep work towards the end where you can do them under fatigue. All right, that is a very structurally balanced upper body session. You can do that on just one day only. If you're someone that doesn't want to grow your upper body, I still recommend training it. Just keep the volume lower. So we did quite a bit of volume today, 4 sets in the first superset, 3 sets in the second superset, and then 3 finishing sets with the isolated rear delt and lateral raise. That might be the right dosage for you for hypertrophy, or it might be the right dosage for you for maintenance. Again, effort is a really big piece, but I do actually highly recommend women do train their upper body twice a week. I'm a huge fan of, let's say, today we started with a horizontal push and pull. We started with a vertical push and pull. The next training day for your upper body, start with the horizontal push and pull, so that each training day for your upper body, you're prioritizing different movement patterns. So rather than breaking your upper body up into chest, back, biceps, triceps, which can be done, but there's a better way, and we always want to go with the more optimal way. Splitting it up like this with a 1-to-1 ratio of push to pull, it's going to leave you with a really well-balanced structurally physique in terms of strength from the front to the back, and of course in isolation to prioritize the muscle groups that you want to improve on. Alright guys, thank you so much for coming along and training with me. If you found this really useful, please drop a comment and let me know. You are more than welcome to reach out to me on my social media. My Instagram is Hattie Boydle, and I also have my Training the Female Athlete online courses, which are educational courses to help you ladies get strong. So like I said, to create a well-balanced, structurally approached program, what you want to do is look at breaking it up into movement patterns, push-pull, horizontal and vertical, and then working on exercises that are going to strengthen the shoulder to keep them nice and healthy, as well as any isolated exercises that you want to add in to improve the body part that you want to bring up.